Welcome, everyone, to Wrestling and the greatest podcast on this side of the Mason-Dixon line. And, I got to tell you guys, we are very excited today because today we're a little excited, but also a little sad because we are going to talk about wrestling and disgraced wrestlers. But before we do that, let's jump right into a very non-disgraced man. In fact, what is the opposite of disgraced? Disgraced. He's just graced, not disgraced. Justin at In-Ring Art. Justin, how are you today, brother?
Not yet. Maybe soon to be disgraced. Who knows?
Maybe eventually. It's like we all
start. When we can turn the corner.
Yeah. I mean, as we will find out. I don't think you're going to have the problems that a lot of these wrestlers have, though. I just have a strange feeling that you're just not the type. But
I can avoid some of them, at least.
Yeah, but some stuff can happen. I mean, I have my own history. You watch any wrestling this week, Justin?
I tried. I still have to watch I really want to watch the Ospreay Yota Tsuji match.
I'll get you a link. Oh, the Ospreay.
No, I have the
Tsuji
link,
match.
but I just have been so tired that I've been falling asleep, and I really want to pay attention to it.
You got to watch that Ospreay Tsuji match, bro.
Oh yeah, that too, maybe. But
that was awesome.
I just find myself just zoning out at matches lately. And I just want to make sure I'm wide awake and have the focus that they deserve.
Yeah, for me, if it is a certain match, I'll put the phone away, Not like 90% of matches, that's not the case. But for a good New Japan main event, I will really try and focus out all my distractions, which is not always possible if you have a family and an animal.
Yeah. It's a little tough sometimes.
And you wake up early too, so like after everyone's asleep, it's not like you're gonna pass out soon after that,
Yeah, I mean, a couple times this week I had to wake up about 4:30, so
woo!
And usually I wake up at 5, so every morning. So it's like 9:45, I can't really dive into anything of substance or new. So it's like I just put familiar TV shows on in the background just so I can wind down a little bit and don't have to think.
No, you should. Yeah. And if you are really watching wrestling, you can focus fully on it. But it's definitely, some people turn it on in the background, and I do too if it's not a very important match. But you can sit there and critically watch wrestling. It is possible, but
I'm somebody that I used to really love to read too. But like every time I read, I just fall asleep. Just can't do it anymore.
I read every single day, but here's the thing, man. It does, yes, especially if you read laying down, which I do, it is very easy to get way too tired while you're reading.
It's like makes my brain work too hard or something. I don't know.
Well, do you read laying down, though? Because that's
sometimes, but
yeah. No, it is weird that way. Like, so a lot of times if I really want to focus or say I'll read for an hour, I have to sit on my chair and read, which is not very comfortable, but still getting through that Mox book. That's a pretty damn good wrestling book.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, he's talking now about the formation of the Shield and just how awesome they were, and he's like, hey, they fucking gave us a heater with Roman Reigns, So, cool things there. Let's see. So first, one really important thing we got to bring up at the top of the show. This is probably one of the most important things for you and I and our listeners is what's it called? New Japan World 2.0.
Has that happened yet? Not for a while.
No, it's in the process. It's about to happen.
Right. The fall. So there's about...
So our prices are being raised, which honestly... It's not that bad compared to other services like
I
Netflix.
thought we were grandfathered into the same rate, but new subscribers have to pay more.
Oh, is that what they're doing?
I think so. That's my understanding.
Okay. I shouldn't be eating. Let me put these chips away. They're pretty good though. Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, nice. Okay,
they're actually okay. So the exciting thing is that they are making this seem like it's going to be a lot more of an app that can be used on all different services.
I mean, they're about 5 years too late, but I'll take it
5 years
now.
too late. I mean, I
Yeah.
was watching Netflix on an Xbox in fucking, 2009? You know?
Yeah, right. But
2010.
I think a lot of it is this is a response to the non-Japanese audience.
Well, no,
If
no.
anything.
Why would you say that though? Because even the Japanese people have PlayStation 5s. Even
I
the
know, but
Japanese people.
I don't think that. Yeah, but they were also watching it on streaming service. I mean, they would have done it a long time ago if the Japanese people wanted it. I'll be honest with you, because they don't really watch on apps, and they watch a lot of live TV still. And yeah, I don't really think it was much of a demand for it in Japan.
New Japan shows are not on live TV unless they're like Samurai TV sometimes.
Right,
and
right.
When they are, we know about it. I mean,
well, I mean, it would be a huge mistake if they waited this long to do it in Japan, if that was really a thing they needed there.
Yeah, it's just like it wouldn't surprise me, because the sad thing is, and you and I know this, is web tech in Japan is years behind America.
Yeah, just general technological stuff surprisingly is way behind. I mean,
something I've always heard that is like, you hear about the robots and this and that, and like storefronts, every store might have a auto opening door and stuff like that. But in other ways, specifically modern computing and it's specifically HTML web development. Yeah, I've heard
and just more of like modern like consumption. When you go to Japan and they still like make you fill out a lot of paperwork. There's not necessarily online applications and stuff. There's still
paperwork. Yeah. The government it's real hard to do government work that way, because they want everything in paper, especially with citizenship stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of paperwork
annoying.
that has to be done precisely.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went to Japan was in 2002. And, it was like, the phones and all the technology there was like insane.
The phones back in 2002 were the best phones.
There.
At that point, until the iPhone came out.
Yeah, I would say that the iPhone was what kind of, and the U.S. was behind with the cell phones and all the gadgets.
Yeah, but back then, dude, they had keychains on their phones, and their phones were like, like everyone had keychains on their phone. Here's another thing from back in the day. They didn't use SMS for texting like we did. They used email service, which made a little bit of like you could send more stuff over text in Japan back then. So, but yes, those phones were.
Cell phone cameras are more advanced,
Oh, they were the best phones in the world at that time, and they had full color graphics with like games and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then just around the time, like you said, the iPhone 2006-07, we just started to blow them away.
Smartphone movement, because Motorola started doing a smartphone, the Droid, if you remember the Droid.
Well, original. I think it was really just more with Apple, and that it was really Apple, because I think you did have like those Blackberries and Samsung Blackjacks and those kind of things that were
the first smartphone was not an iPhone. Yeah,
but no, of course not.
The movement was huge, and I would argue probably the iPhone is the phone in Japan now. I'm not saying it's the most popular, but
it is. Okay. But even Androids, they wouldn't have happened without iPhones.
Yeah.
I mean, the interface of a Android is an iPhone. I mean, with the apps all like that, the structure and the screen. 99% of phones look like this.
Yes.
I was holding up my iPhone. Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't tell what it is. It's an iPhone. The design of an iPhone is pretty much I mean, of course they're different and they run differently, but
it's a
the
screen
actual
on the front,
layout
and
the format. Yeah, it's not a flip
very
phone.
Very little buttons.
Yeah,
it's all touch screen, and that's just how phones are.
They're all based on the iPhone, and evolved along the way. Maybe they've evolved a little stronger, and then iPhones caught up. But everything is based on that original iPhone. Is what started the smartphone kind of revolution and all that. But all that aside, just as a society too, I think when you're on the train in Japan, a lot of people are just like watching live TV on their phones, and they're watching game shows, or they're watching talk shows, or they're watching
really
whatever, but they're watching live TV like you would if you had like a
Google
cable
TV.
account, and they're watching live TV.
YouTube TV, kind of like that.
Right. So they're not necessarily watching like streaming services a lot. But so there's still a live TV on my phone kind of society. And they're not a lot, you know what I mean? They're not binging on Netflix and all that stuff. They're as a society yet. So that's where the necessity.
I've heard Netflix does quite well in Japan, though.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, but I'm just saying overall, the preferred thing. So that's what maybe
whatever service is their live TV service.
Right, and also I think we also underestimate. New Japan Wrestling is obviously popular, getting more popular in Japan, and growing a little bit since its peak. But it was getting more popular for a while, but it's not nearly as popular as the WWE is here.
And it's not nearly as popular as it was in 2017-18 too.
Right. I mean, yeah, just like there has been a decline since then, but overall, in Japan, it's not everyone in every street corner knows who Kazuchika Okada is here in Japan.
Of course.
Yeah. Kazuchika Okada, they don't know who he is. And here, not everyone knows who Roman Reigns is, but still I think WWE is still way more ingrained in pop culture here than New Japan is in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Especially with the Attitude Era was not that long ago, all things considered.
Right, and that's when New Japan was very popular. Around the same time wrestling was popular here, Japan, everything was mainstream like it was here. So, that was their peak too, around the Attitude Era.
I would say a couple years before that, but around that,
that mid-late 90s time, it was here.
And you had All Japan. The other thing I've heard about Japan too is you can never forget the aging population of Japan and how many old people they are. And I've heard that, like, for all their technology, a lot of old people still just watch their CRT TV. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it thing. I've heard that a lot of older folks are, just like here, not very computer literate, and that those old technologies are still important for a lot of the
I mean, Maria's parents still, they have a hard time using the iPad when we FaceTime them and stuff, but they, they're not, they don't have a computer at their house. They have a TV that's probably, I don't know, 15 years old, and come to think of it, the TV I have in our house is getting that old too. But we still use it. It's fine. It's a Sharp.
The new flat screens last fucking... I mean, I'm probably using a TV to my left here that's probably that old. I bought it off, Facebook Marketplace. I got it for $30. So
I think I got mine in... I bought a Sharp in 2012, I think, or 2013, something like that. And it's a 42-inch Sharp that probably cost me $600 when I bought it, or $700, and it still works like a champ.
It is kind of crazy though that same TV nowadays would be like $200.
I know, right? I've thought about it at times, just getting another TV, and I'll just put this in the bedroom, and get like a 55-inch. But
for all the complaining we do about prices going up, at least TV prices have actually gone down. That's kind of a nice little thing.
Well, that's one of those things where you're only supposed to buy one every 10 years. Yeah. And, once everyone has one for a while, the only thing to get them to buy another one is to make them cheaper.
That's true, because they last. And they're not even heavy anymore, so you can bring them from house to house and not give a fuck. Unlike, this is on a sidebar, but I saw this YouTube video from 1999, and the guy got a brand new TV. And they were like, "Whoa, bro, how much was it?" And he's like, "I got it on discount for $5,000." And it was like seriously like a 30-something inch square TV. Yeah,
tube. Yeah,
like Sony fucking Trinitron or whatever. So
remember those?
Just hilarious. How times have changed. And it makes it better for us wrestling fans, too, to watch it on an iPad. We got the New Japan World coming. I'm hoping it's a major, major upgrade. I'm still skeptical. You know, when you do the translations, instead of matches, it says game 2, game 3. We'll see, man. There's a lot.
Yeah,
of
we'll
work
see if they take the translation seriously. I mean, isn't that what's his name? Chris Charlton's job is doing. He should be heavily involved in that.
The website, all it does is just Google Translate.
Yeah, it should be better than that. I know yeah.
And there are examples. I mean, you look at Abema, their web service is pretty damn good, actually. Way better than New Japan World. And they've got like the huge artwork up there with all the cool matches as part of the details of the artwork and stuff. And you just click on it, boom, it plays right there. You know, there's no. And I also, this is my major hope, is that New Japan World broadcasts in like fucking 480p or something, or 720p.
No, they're
not even HD.
Their picture quality, and I've been saying that for a while, is it doesn't look like stuff's in HD ever.
It's not, dude. Which is like crazy to think. Like
that's 2007. I think everything has moved past that since then.
Yeah, exactly. So now that would take a camera upgrade as well. Maybe not though. I've seen their cameras and their monitors, and those are really expensive, high quality.
I'm wondering too, like what other live sports there, like baseball and whatever
what they run,
because if they're not running in HD,
if sumo, I don't know, dude. Sumo is HD online. Like I can watch the NHK broadcasts online.
Right.
By the way, did you see who was at a recent sumo meet?
Well, if NHK is doing it, then they probably have NHK production value.
Yeah.
So
true.
It's not. The production isn't New Japan. It's not the Sumo company doing the production. So that's probably why it's HD.
Did you see who was recently spotted at a sumo event?
No.
It was Kojima, right? He wasn't there, but he was posting on Twitter. He says, I was watching sumo, and I seen this guy in the background, and I couldn't stop looking at him because he looked exactly like Taichi.
Well, Taichi's a big sumo fan.
Well, if you zoom out, you can see Taichi there, and you can see Sonata right next to him trying to look hidden. You know, the hat, the glasses, all that stuff.
Right.
So
no one was going to recognize him anyway.
Taichi, yeah, but Taichi looked like Taichi. He was wearing his fucking 90s style with his glasses. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, kind of Ed Hardy kind of style.
It was pretty great, man. So, there you go. Taichi. Let's see. Besides that, just wanted to dig into, and again, Justin, I got a friend who's going to hit me up here, so I'm going to keep you updated on what we're doing.
Yeah, man, we can keep it brief. That's cool, man. Whatever.
I don't know if it will be. It'll depend. I want to try to go an hour at least. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the WWE releases.
Hold on 1 second. Can you guys stop that? I'm hearing nothing but that crunching. Okay.
Clanging and clattering.
Yeah, man. I don't know what they're doing.
They're acting a fool is what they're doing. Wait, that's your kids, right?
Yeah. Still doing it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little about the WWE releases, and I wanted your opinion.
My God. You know what I realized is that I might have jinxed Dolph Ziggler last week. Guys, stop!
Say we're doing a live recording, people.
Yeah. Live to tape. Yeah, because I remember last week we talked about how, WWE probably won't release wrestlers. At least I said that because they're only going to get rid of people that are duplicated already, like Endeavor with marketing people and behind the scenes kind of people. Mm-hmm. And we kind of talked about how, I don't know how Dolph Ziggler's name came up, but I remember mentioning his name. They're not going to get rid of Dolph Ziggler because he has a background in fighting or whatever like that because he was a wrestler or something like that. But sorry, Dolph.
Clearly, he was. I do feel like that one was a little bit of. I feel like the Ziggler one is probably a little more consensual than we realize. Is my opinion because I feel like if Dolph Ziggler wanted another year there, he could have done it.
Yeah, I mean...
What do you think?
I think he might have been someone that they months ago said, "Hey, man, if we were to cut you one day, how would you feel about that?" And I think eventually maybe he stepped in and said, "Okay, let me go." You know how sometimes they offer people buyouts or, before they make layoffs. Maybe he was one of the ones that went in and said, "I'm good."
Here's why I say this, because Ziggler is in one of those spots where like a Miz is, where he can always, people like him.
Yeah, he's a good performer. Yeah, I mean, he's always someone that will, if you're in a pinch, you can always throw Dolph out there. He's a professional. He's also
been screwed by booking quite a bit over the years.
I know they gave him the title once and all that, but he's always been a guy that they've been afraid to really, really go with.
Which I thought they were going to after Survivor Series when Sting helped him out and
right.
They did all that. I thought, we're finally going to see him pushed, and people wanted it too. And nothing came out of that. So, I have heard interviews where Dolph Ziggler has specifically said that he will only play the gateway role for so long. The new wrestler has to wrestle this guy. And I remember years ago him saying, I'm only going to do that so long until I don't want to do that position anymore.
Right, the gatekeeper, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is you look at his Twitter years ago now, and it still says comedian and I wrestle on the side, which, is a funny joke, but maybe that can tell you how he thinks about his life nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I remember 3-4 years ago he was out here, at the Comedy Store and, Laugh Factory doing stuff here and there. And his brother, too, seems to have some kind of improv-y background as well.
The only thing is, I don't think he's that funny, dude.
I have never seen any of his stand-up, so I don't know.
Stand-up? Yeah. No. It's, so I could see AEW signing him for a few matches.
I mean, yeah, and, I have a kind of a curiosity of how he'd be in a few New Japan-style matches. Because he's a pretty talented wrestler. That would be kind of fun to watch.
We've been seeing WWE style for years and years. Although I don't know if he can wrestle anything besides that anymore. But he is, he was an amateur wrestler. Kind of a shooter in that sense. So,
and at this point, he's not really high mileage. So, I know he's in his early 40s.
He's probably, if he's saved, though, he's probably good for a long time. So, you never know. He could just want to be a comedian from here on out, It's very possible. But you'd find the ring calls people back to it more than it doesn't.
And who knows? Maybe WWE, what they've been doing is they'll release him in 6 months he'll come back. Who knows?
He'll come back and it'll be like a big deal. So, the other thing, let's see who else. Quincy Elliott, the super diva. That lasted about a week. Shelton Benjamin, very good wrestler, not being used a ton, I suppose.
Yeah.
Getting up there in age. Still good wrestler, though, dude.
It's another guy that can find himself back in New Japan.
True. Very good point. Top Dollar, Riddick Moss. Poor Riddick Moss, man. He never got going. And then he, caused major injuries to a few people. So, that sucks, kind of, man. And he's just getting married to Emma, who also got released.
Yeah.
That's rough, but
I heard that Emma is pretty well off, though, because she invested her money wisely, allegedly.
Well, she must, because I follow her on Instagram, and, when she's not wrestling, she's, at these super luxurious places all the time.
Yeah, I think I saw her post about how she invested in a lot of kind of condos and whatever in exotic places, and maybe what do you call it?
Rents them out. I hope not.
Yeah, she what do you call it when you not flip it, but she renovated a lot of them. And she rents them out and stuff.
Rent them out to people. That's smart as hell. Or you can do a what's it called when you make it a little hotel, Airbnb.
Right, and I think she has a passive income, and pretty much she just can go to all her places when they're available. And I think she smart kids, set her stuff up well.
I hope that's the case. I won't say that she's any kind of great wrestler, but I hope that's the case for her and her husband.
I mean, she had a good personality, and yeah. No, I don't remember anything in the ring, and she showed a little bit of range, to be in the comedic, and she could be serious too. She was okay. Listen,
her comedic was bad though, bro. Like
she wasn't. She was definitely had more talent than a good amount that made it further. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Aaliyah, Rick Boogs, who also kind of was starting to get a little something, then boom, he blew out his
he blew out his knee at WrestleMania, didn't he?
Blew out his knee. Was that it? When he?
I think so.
Yeah. He was carrying like Otis or something. What is that? What I see in my head?
Wasn't it? I think so. It was him and Nakamura in a tag match,
it was him and Nakamura in a tag match. Yeah, and that sucks. He was always a kind of a funny character, but it's one of those things too. When you're that big, it's probably injuries are a little more risky, I believe, when you're that huge.
And when you're a hardcore weightlifter,
which that's what he is.
You press your body to the limits, right? So,
mm-hmm.
I know you've got all these big muscles around you, but when it comes down to it, your ligaments...
that can affect your flexibility, though. I've heard, some dudes that are that huge have trouble wiping their ass because they're so huge, you know what I mean?
But, keep in mind when you do build your muscles, your bones are still the same relative size, and so are your ligaments.
Yeah.
So when your body is super strong, your ligaments don't exactly... I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor or whatever, but I know that there's certain injuries that only, people that work out get. And that's because they're using their body to the absolute limit. And
people that are bodybuilders type of workout. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. So,
there's a trade-off.
There's a trade-off. There's some parts of your body that you can't necessarily strengthen that are aided by muscles. So ligaments, I guess, or whatever his injury was. But I think he was also a guy that was kind of expecting, right when he got hurt was probably where he was at his peak. And maybe he was expecting to be shot right out of a rocket once he was healthy. And once that started to happen, maybe he got a little,
Well, his claim.
Impatient.
Have you heard what his claim?
Yeah,
is?
didn't he say something about politics?
He says that when Vince McMahon lost power, it was the end for him. Which Dave Meltzer commentated, "Who the fuck do you think signed the papers that are firing you, dude? Who do you think made the final decision to fire you, dude?"
And I don't think Vince was ever out of power, to be honest with you. Now that we're going back on this.
now that we're going back, I mean, he was on the phone constantly with.
I do think that if you have a really bad injury, Vince, that's a very easy way for Vince to sour on you. It seems like. So Vince might have loved Boogs until that injury, and he's like, nope, we're not going to do it, because if we give him something and he gets injured, then, you know what I mean?
Well, and there's that thing I heard Randy Orton say this years ago. He's like, if you get injured, that's my place to step in and take all your money and shit, basically,
Yeah.
And the world moves forward. So I'm not saying anyone stepped in as his replacement, but the world moved forward, bro. And especially that WrestleMania to the next WrestleMania was like one of the biggest changes we've ever seen in the company. So things change, man. And yeah. Bryce Montana, Dana Brooke, probably past her prime in the WWE. I don't think she's very good, and I think she's lucky.
Someone that stuck around a little longer than we thought.
Who's lasted forever is what's that kid's name? He's at cruiserweight. He's in the Heritage Cup. Dom Noor. Oh, I can't remember his name. Anyways, they have a Scottish wrestler who's literally been on with WWE for almost 10 years, I think, dude. No, maybe 8 years, and I think he's wrestled 7 times. Noam Dar. There we go.
Oh, is he? But I don't see him that often. But I think a lot of those guys, that it seems like I don't know, like I'd have to look at it, but it seems like a lot of the wrestlers that actually, come from another country, they stick around longer because, they realize like, oh, this person came all the way here from another country and we're going to let them go a year later. I think they seem to get...
that. They do that, though.
I mean, Nakamura is a guy who's probably proof. I mean, not proof. He's kind of... doesn't seem like he'd ever be released. But he relocated his entire family here. So, like Kushida was a guy who had to ask for his release, right? I believe.
There's been a few of them. I mean, even Mustafa Ali asked for his release years ago.
And didn't get it, but he finally,
John Huber asked for his release and received it.
Right.
So it just depends. By the way, who is the name of that wrestler who wrestled in bar wrestling? And I hate to describe him like this, but I don't know. He was like a homosexual guy, a pretty talented guy, maybe Filipino. What's his name? Does that ring a bell at all?
I know Jake Atlas.
Jake Atlas. I just need that name for later. Okay, that's all. I know that's random, but we might talk about him later because of our subject. Okay, so yeah, you had Dana Brooke. These two, I actually really like, and I actually think they're really talented. I don't know about wrestlers, but that's Mansoor and Mace.
Oh, they were doing that model thing towards the end?
They were, and I guess those two have kind of become best friends, but I will say, their Twitch streams, at least, are very funny, and Mansoor is hilarious. You remember they pushed him at that one Saudi show. Do you remember that?
Right. Yeah, and there was always, like, kind of rumors of him getting a push at some point, right?
I think so, but he got that Saudi show, he won that, and I think that's the one where the martial artist came in, the Saudi martial artist came in, and that was cool. Mace never really did anything. If you remember, he did commentary for a little bit, and he is quoted as saying, he did the red Hell in a Cell match between The Fiend and Seth Rollins.
Oh, remember for commentary?
One? Yeah, and he goes, he's going to impale him! And I'm like, bro, it's a hammer. You can't impale someone.
I think, someone back there liked him and was trying to give him chances, so...
They tried. They really tried him in all different places. He was also part of, like, Retribution.
Right.
So, his original name was Dio Madden, which I guess, like, maybe a mix of his love of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and football, is my guess.
Did he give, then he must have given, I know he did commentary at NXT for a while.
Did he?
Right? I think so. I remember that name, Madden.
I just remember they threw him on commentary way before he was ready on, Raw or whatever. And it was a disaster. I didn't hate it, but they didn't like it. Shanky is gone. Ulissa Leon, Daniel MacArthur, Kevin Ventura Cortez, Dabba-Kato, Commander Aziz.
I guess I remember who that was, yeah.
Alexis Gray, Brooklyn Barlow, and Ikemenjiro. So Ikemenjiro and Saray were these two Japanese talents that didn't make it in WWE. I mean, they tried to make Saray into a magical girl who changes into, like, Sailor Moon. That didn't work. And they never took Ikemenjiro seriously. They just made him do his comedy gimmick the whole time. Did you even watch Jiro in WWE?
No, I don't even know who that is.
Oh, he's the guy that wears, like, the dinner jacket with the crazy patterns on it. And if that don't ring a bell, then you won't know. But I used to watch him in All Japan. Kind of a comedy wrestler, but a great wrestler. And, So, yeah. And then, Elias, of course. I don't really have much to say about him. I feel like his whole career is like, oh, he was really mean in Seattle once, and he got booed a lot once.
Very entertaining at times, but somebody where... Well, when he would do the John Cena stuff and all that was pretty good. And when Elias came and beat him up, I mean, not Elias, Braun Strowman,
Okay.
He was pretty good. I didn't, I don't really can't think of any wrestling matches, but he was fine. But
I thought it was kind of funny when
they
he
didn't know what
was
to do with
Ezekiel.
him. They didn't know what really to do with him. They weren't going to like give him like any major, angles or anything. So
Yeah, he was kind of funny outside the ring, but inside the ring, he was nothing special.
that's what I meant. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything great inside the ring, but he definitely, his songs and his stuff was entertaining.
And I guess the only thing is he couldn't really play guitar that well either. That confused me. Was that the joke?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't really paying that much attention. I'm not a musician.
I'd rather have Stone Cold Steve Austin play guitar than him.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's interesting. Some of these dudes I feel like we might never see again. Because, you know what I've noticed? A lot of wrestlers that leave WWE, they don't want to go back to the indies. They're just like, fuck it. But you can be a Matt Cardona, dude. You can do that.
Yeah? I think, he likes wrestling, so I think that's what keeps him going.
Speaking of that, I watched Matt Cardona versus Maki Ito in Japan for DDT.
Oh, I heard that happened.
It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's awesome.
who Matt Cardona's partner is, but she's kind of funny too. And Maki Ito beat the hell out of him. He was bleeding everywhere. She came out, got the pizza cutter, rolled it across his forehead, but he ended up fucking her up in the end. So, pretty good match, actually. So, yeah, those are the releases. And, by the way, I was just watching No Mercy and Collision. No Mercy, pretty good tag match. Looks like the gangster guys retained. And I saw Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho beat their opponents as well in a pretty good match. And then they both did a promo for tomorrow. You gonna watch Wrestle Dream?
Maybe. Was it at 5 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
On my time? Yeah, I'm going to try.
It's in Seattle. Yep.
Yeah. That should be
And
cool.
NXT was in Bakersfield tonight.
Wait, Wrestle Dream, is that an actual pay-per-view, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But like I said, NXT was in Bakersfield. Surprised you didn't go to that, man. You could have gone to 2 NXT shows in the span of a year.
What? Bakersfield, huh?
Yeah.
That's about a 2-hour drive from here.
That seems far.
Not a lot of reasons to go there.
What arena is in Bakersfield?
There's an arena there, just some probably where Cal State Bakersfield something. There is a little arena there because they do house shows there and everything too.
You ever been to the Greek Theater?
Yeah.
What'd you see there?
High school graduation.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Greek Theaters, it's like a way smaller version of Hollywood Bowl. Very cool though. Very cool.
It looks like there's trees all around it and stuff, which was kind of cool.
It's in Griffith Park.
It's in Griffith Park.
Yeah.
Cool.
Griffith Park is huge. Huge. They got everything for it's where the LA Zoo is. It's where the observatory is. It's all in the Griffith Park kind of.
I've been to parks like
there.
I've been to parks like that, like in what's it called, Atlanta. They have their Piedmont Park, and it is just like calling it a park is kind of inappropriate because it's so huge. It's more like a whole public area. Okay. We are going to move on. We'll talk more about Collision and all that later. You still there, Justin?
I'm here.
Okay. We're going to move on to wrestling and disgraced wrestlers. Now, what do we mean by disgraced? Because we're trying to talk about wrestlers who essentially are out of the business, like kind of blacklisted. Right? Not just from one company, because we know there's WWE wrestlers that'll never wrestle in WWE again. But
and also make clear that we're not necessarily assigning guilt to these people. It's all about alleged and why they're just not in the business anymore. We're not
this is also
labeling someone as something that they might not be. Where these are all alleged allegations,
Some of them are. Some of them are actually have been found guilty.
Right, but I'm just saying in general, there's some people that we're going to talk about that haven't really been convicted of a crime per se, and
a lot of people
where it's a lot of, one word against someone else's word kind of deals,
We are giving our opinions first and foremost. Even if it sounds like we're making a statement of fact, that is this show is our opinion. So many things are alleged, and this is Justin and I's opinion. So I mean, just get that out of the way first and foremost. But wanted to talk about some wrestlers that over time things have happened, whether it's their fault, most of the time it is, or other things that have caused them to not be in the industry. Sometimes causing a stain on the industry as well. Again, my opinion. First one, and first of all, we're not going to talk about Chris Benoit, okay? So let's just get that one out of the way, right? You can't be blacklisted if you're not alive.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I'd rather even not. I'd rather just not. Is Jimmy Snuka still alive?
No, he died about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
But even before that, though, he was kind of blacklisted, right?
I mean, I want to say towards the end of his life, he was like suffering from dementia and stuff. So
that sucks.
I don't think, yeah. And when all those allegations, I mean, he was literally deemed,
did he have dementia at that
to stand
point?
trial. Yeah,
okay.
He was literally determined that he was not healthy enough to be on trial.
Well, I know that Snuka was not in WWE like through the 90s and stuff, right?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. Yeah.
Was he doing the? Let me quickly look at his career. Let's see if he was. I mean, doing
he was pretty like
Stars of Wrestling or anything like that.
Yeah, I think he was pretty, not able to compete on a full-time level by that time, health-wise.
Okay. Yeah, the 90s. So he did. He actually had a lot of appearances in WWE in the 2000s. So maybe he is not a, I guess, disgraced wrestler. He's passed away, so he can't actually be considered that. So I guess we'll put an asterisk next to the name here. But some things is that Snuka did have an alcohol problem, as a lot of people do. It's not necessarily a horrible thing, but unless you make it. But fellow wrestlers have told stories of it being unwise to drink with him for their own sake, which doesn't help the shaky reputation he built. Buddy Rogers, Snuka's longtime mentor, told of Jimmy Snuka abusing women other than his ex-girlfriend, who he had been suspecting of murdering 32 years ago, allegedly. Snuka wasn't charged in the original investigation into the murder, but the case was reopened after an unseen autopsy report, which was revealed, which had labeled the death a homicide. So, but again, as you said, by the time they were to this point, he was so demented that it was hard to even communicate or understand, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was deemed unfit to stand trial, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to erase him from the list. Next up, Brad Maddox. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes.
How do you know
him? Well, he was kind of a Raw general manager character / wrestler. Very attractive guy, good looking guy.
That was kind of my first thing that I noticed about him, is he was like this really handsome, young looking guy.
Yeah, and I could see why, Vince McMahon would want to put him on TV. And,
now, was he a wrestler, an actual wrestler?
Yeah, he was. And
nothing of note, though?
Nothing of note, per se. I know, towards the end when he got released, he got released for a very random reason. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just the sex tape with Paige and Xavier Woods. So,
now that's a huge allegedly, bro, with Xavier Woods. I've seen the video.
They're both in the video.
We know it's him. That is Xavier Woods. He's admitted, right?
Well, they were both in the video, but they weren't engaging with each other, I think.
No,
right?
But Xavier Woods was wearing a mask, bro.
No, I think Xavier Woods was pretty much...
Oh, God.
In it.
The one I saw, he was wearing a mask.
Oh, well, I don't know, then. I didn't really see much of it, if I remember correctly, but one of them was filming or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, out of the three of them, he seemed to have got the shortest end of the stick, no pun intended.
Yeah, I got you.
And he did wrestle afterwards, and I think what happened was he was trying some kind of new character stuff, and I want to say he called the audience at a house show pricks, and Vince fired him because of that.
Oh, come on. That's a normal thing to do. I'm pretty sure I heard The Miz call me that the other day.
There you go. So he got fired literally because of that. It could have been some other things manifesting.
So, for those that don't know, when he left WWE, he came under fire for, this is Brad Maddox, for his involvement in lewd pornographic videos he created with Paige. Maddox and Paige dated between 2014 and 15. After the videos leaks, he deleted all his social media accounts. Although it has been proven that Maddox did not personally leak the media, his involvement to the scandal has not given WWE or many other companies incentive to bring him into the fold. He recently resurfaced in photos on his wife Ryan's marriage coaching website, and he has changed his legal name from Joshua Klutz to Tyler K. Warner to be an actor. So,
yeah, he was a guy. You know what? In his whole situation, I kind of felt bad for him. You know, didn't necessarily do anything illegal or wrong.
I kind of agree with you on that, man. Like,
yeah, he's a guy, and you know what? It's funny.
He never even leaked it. He never even leaked the video.
He's a guy that I've seen in my area from time to time, so I think he lives in Southern California. You know, so
did you see him walking around or what?
Yeah, I have, and this is maybe a year ago or so, and then I seen him at a gym a few years before that. I think right when he might have just been released from WWE in like 2015 or whatever. But you know, he's a guy I think with him is he was probably always thinking about just going into the acting thing. And
I mean, if
probably,
I were him, I might feel that way too. Because I mean,
he probably didn't have enough of a in-ring reputation to go and do the indies afterwards. He was probably one of those pure WWF trained people.
That's possible.
I don't know his background in terms of his wrestling training or whatever. But
I've never heard anyone say like, "You got to go back and watch this Brad Maddox promo." In fact, he's someone I barely hear talked about at all today.
Yeah, I mean, he came up through Ohio Valley and FCW, so we're talking about, you know, those
pure
early
WWE training.
Pure WWE training. He was a referee for a while, I believe, at some point as well.
That makes sense.
You know, but like we said, you know, he's a, you know, attractive guy that, you know, probably could have done if he would have went a different direction. Could have done a little more, but
so we do agree on this though that you know maybe this was partially his choice to stay out of wrestling, maybe. And
I don't know enough to say, but I know out of a lot of people in these situations, he really got kind of a short end of the stick.
He didn't get a fair shake. It seems like that's for sure.
And I'm not saying he was gonna go on everyone's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers or anything like that.
No, but getting blacklisted, that seems extreme for what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
While you have two of the other people involved in that, one of them is a champion, and the other is becoming a legend. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. So, again, and that's why I like talking about this, Justin, because this stuff isn't all so clear-cut, right? It's not always they did something bad and they deserve blah, blah, blah. Sometimes there's a lot of nuance to this. So that's why I wanted to talk about this stuff.
Right.
Moving on to Bill DeMott, who was a wrestler, actually.
Mm-hmm. Hugh Morris.
Tell me if you know why Bill DeMott is on this list.
For being a dickhead trainer, right?
for not just for being the head trainer, but for things he did as head
No,
trainer.
so being a dickhead of a trainer is what I said.
Oh, being a dickhead of a trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably putting it light. I imagine, again, alleged. Stories come out, though, and 4 years into his tenure, numerous stories from wrestlers willing to attach their name to their allegations came forward with stories that he made a toxic workplace and culture, and essentially he was kind of abusive to the trainees. I'm not saying he like fucking slapped them directly, but making it, and WWE's always been known as having a toxic kind of competitive culture. So you can only imagine someone making it even worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think, a lot of his approach was like that old school approach. So you might have some of the veteran wrestlers. I think one of them that spoke out for him in his defense was, Chris Jericho. So, I mean, he definitely had an old school approach where, maybe some obscenities and inappropriate terms were being used towards the wrestlers, and you can't do that shit these days.
Obscenities, kind of the Jim Cornette thing of using old school jokes or old school metaphors that nowadays are kind of shocking to hear. Those are all guesses. But, I do wonder... I wonder if a lot of these guys got trained under Shibata, if they would consider it abusive too. I think Bill DeMott did have probably his own way of doing things, because no one's ever claimed that Shibata was abusive. But he does kick your ass, that's for sure. Maybe there's a difference there.
He definitely does, and I think, he was probably also, Shibata was training guys with different mindsets and backgrounds than NXT wrestlers that were
absolutely
playing college basketball and all this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, because when you go into that dojo, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Exactly right.
But in NXT, you're right. You've been a shot put thrower for the last 5 years. All of a sudden, you're doing all this crazy shit, 1,000 squats, all that type of stuff.
Because I mean. If you're going to New Japan Wrestling, you probably know what New Japan Wrestling's about, and
because they only take you from the training academy that you have to pay to go to. So,
and that being said, you can make people squat until they throw up in a respectful way. That's not calling them inappropriate, demeaning terms along the way, or threatening them.
Gay slur or something like that. Yeah, yep, and that is. It is kind of old school that way. If you're not, picking up your pace, then they'll use like an F slur or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, we don't know exactly what happened, but we're just hypothetically.
That's what seems to be the case. Yeah,
and we've worked with people that foster toxic environments too, so we kind of can understand. This one made me sad because I kind of liked the guy, actually. James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth. Oh, James Ellsworth. Yeah, okay. What is he disgraced now?
Ellsworth?
Ellsworth, I believe.
Yeah, that was pre AEW. I thought the AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, James Ellsworth program was very entertaining, in my opinion. What happened with him?
Yeah. Was he accused of being a creeper? I've heard that here and there.
Yep. Allegations surfaced in 2018 that he sent nude photos of himself to a 16-year-old girl. He allegedly. While he initially categorically denied the claims, something was reported shortly after the news that Ellsworth offered to pay someone to go to the girl's house and destroy the pictures.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, which is like this double layer of horribleness. Later, more women came out with accusations of Ellsworth, suggesting a pattern of lewd behavior. So,
oh boy.
Why don't you tell the people that are listening why Ellsworth is different from a lot of wrestlers on this list?
Just because he's very peculiar looking,
He's a joke wrestler. He's a comedy wrestler.
A comedy wrestler, no chin, very thin. Doesn't look to be in any type of athletic shape. Yeah, no chin music.
Bad with Women was his character, right? He's awkward with Carmella, right? That was his. Didn't he
believe so, yeah.
Carmella? Yeah.
I believe
He's having a baby soon. Shout outs to Carmella.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll be Corey Graves' fifth child. So, okay. But yeah, James Ellsworth, I thought he was a funny performer. He could, the best thing about him, and look, just because he did this shit, that's horrible. I can still say I liked it when it happened, right? And that's one of those other things that we have to deal with in this conversation is separating the art from the artist. Can you still watch certain wrestlers? Yeah. So my friend's going to be here in 20, by the way.
Okay, we'll plow through.
We'll go through a few more, and maybe we'll do a part 2 later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we don't
why not?
Through all the names. Okay. So, but Ellsworth was entertaining to me. It's horrible to hear that he did these things, and all you can do is hope that this person gets treatment, gets help, and
doesn't do it to other people, and is held accountable for his actions. There you go.
Exactly. Another kind of flash in a pan, Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
That's it's one of those names, if you weren't there, you'll never know his name, It was just quick. Could you talk to people about, what made Lars Sullivan kind of unique? Not what got him in trouble, but what kind of made him a prospect?
I mean, his look. He was huge. Not particularly my cup of tea in a wrestler, but he had a monster quality to him.
He had a monster quality. Even in his face, he had kind of a monster.
Yeah, his look, his appearance, everything was just, he looked like, a monster.
And they were really getting ready to push the fuck out of this guy, too. I'm pretty sure, because he was in NXT. I watched him, and he had actually okay match with Malachi Black, with one big botch, but from there, he went straight to main roster. Now, do you remember what first started being the issue with him? Because it wasn't the anything he said necessarily.
Well, I know that he was saying some very homophobic things, or he did at some point, probably before his career.
But before that, though.
Well, I know what he did before that, but I'm saying, when he first kind of was, seen as controversial, they found old posts on weightlifting forums or something like that were very homophobic.
So besides that, and the other thing that I think you're thinking of, he started missing dates, dude.
Right, that's right. He had some type of mental health issues,
panic attacks, which
anxiety.
I feel horrible for that. I mean, if you have any type of major anxiety syndrome, the WWE is probably one of the worst places, right, to work.
Yeah, anything where there's a camera recording what you do and you have to be there live, and
just to give you an example, dude. I've been watching Maven. If you haven't watched him yet, you really got to go check his YouTube out. It's so good, dude. And good. Maven was saying that how stressful it was. And he said that one night he didn't have a very good match. It was on Raw, right?
Right.
And right when he went to the back, Vince was waiting for him there. And Vince walked right up to him and says, "You really need to think between now and tomorrow if you really want this job." And just dude, imagine your CEO walking up to you and telling you that, after one performance.
Yeah, I know. I've had similar things happen where I don't perform well myself with those type of stakes.
Yeah, that's rough. So there was that, and then there was what you said, and so the panic attacks. I feel bad for now. There was the weightlifting for stuff where he was making racial or disability slurs, right?
I thought I heard homophobic, but
homophobic. I read it. It was of particular interest to me because the dude is from Denver, and so he was talking to a lot of Denver people, and there was that. Now they fined him for that, which is very interesting to me. They fined him for something he wrote on the internet, 10 years previous. How do you feel about that?
I mean, we're all different people than we were 10 years ago, but
Surely.
I don't know. It really depends on this the circumstance and the if they brought it up to him and maybe he denied it and didn't come clean about it. Because I do think that there is how do I put this? There are chances when you're probably being taken in by WWE to like say, okay, is there anything that might come up in the future that you did 10 years ago so that we can get ahead of it, or at least we know what it is in case it does happen? And maybe, they said, was this you on these forums?
I'm good,
no, that wasn't me. Yeah, I got nothing. And then when that comes up, he's not being necessarily fined because it happened 10 years ago, but because he didn't disclose it to them, or he wasn't upfront about it or honest about it when they, asked him about it originally. So it really depends.
Yeah. It depends. But they obviously wanted to jump in front of it. They fined him, and it just went downhill from there. I mean, the panic attacks, this issue, one thing led to another, and he was released. And then after that, soon after, there was gay porn that he was also part of. Now
was that before he was released or after?
Way before. I did watch it.
Yeah, before he was released, right?
I did watch it. Not the whole thing, but and it don't matter if I did. But it was a much younger Lars Sullivan with hair on his head, which is especially shocking considering the gay slurs.
Yeah, little ironic there.
Not something we never seen before, but at the same time,
unless you're well known for doing it, and you go on to other things, and it's rare, but being an adult, paid to be in an adult film, distributed, willingly, not like just having a tape or whatever.
Yeah, it's not a sex tape. This was like a Vivid Productions entertainment.
Is one of the true kiss of death of any career, unless
you're Rocky or you're Sylvester Stallone.
Right. There's very rare instances where you can make
like
it
you said,
mainstream
unless you're
out of that.
famous for it already.
And people acknowledge that, and that's part of the story, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of women like Jenny McCarthy who was on Playboy and stuff like that.
Well, that's different. That's
she
way
didn't
different.
do straight up porn, but
right, exactly.
That I know of. Okay, well, guys, I have someone coming over, so we're gonna keep this episode to an hour. And actually, Justin, I've had fun talking about this, in not in a positive way, but just getting your take, and us both talking about how we feel about these incidences. I got a whole list of about 15 more. So,
and listen, there are times when John will tell me the topic, and I don't know it till we're right about to record, and that's where we get this kind of organic conversation out of it.
And that's why I'm not going to give you the rest of the list. We'll keep it, and we will talk about this either next or after that, because we do have Wrestle Dream coming up. We've got a dude, I really want to watch Shinsuke versus Tyler
Rollins?
Black. The Rollins,
Tyler Black.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
Rollins.
Tyler.
That's Rollins. Shinsuke. I really want to watch that match. That could be good.
Yeah, should be. The first one was good. The one they did a few weeks ago was great.
Yeah.
Hopefully they have the guts to give it. Hopefully they have the guts to give Nakamura that title.
That ain't gonna happen, bro. That would be crazy. But if
what
they
are they
did,
gonna do with
awesome.
Seth? He'll get it back in a month, but come on, he can get it back in Survivor Series.
But they're gonna want him to main event WrestleMania. So
Seth?
Yeah.
No,
night one.
Well, listen, it's 6 months from now. He gets it back. He can get it back in Survivor Series of the Royal Rumble.
Hey, look, bro, I'm not disagreeing with you. I would love that. And hey, one more thing.
Nakamura deserves it. He's done everything they've asked him to do, and Nakamura.
One more thing. I got a new coworker, and he was wearing his Kings shirt last night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, you like the Kings?" He's like, "Hell yeah, I'm from."
Wearing my King shirt.
I'm from East LA. And
right
I was like, oh, okay. Southeast LA. And he has a thick Spanish accent and stuff. And he was like, oh, I'm a huge Kings fan. And then
right on.
he goes, I said, yeah, I watch a lot of wrestling. He goes, oh, you know Shinsuke? And I said, who? He said, Shinsuke. And I'm like, oh, Shinsuke Nakamura. He's like, that's my boy, man. He starts singing the theme song and everything.
Oh, so, right on. That's awesome.
It's cool to have a wrestling fan and an LA guy at work. So kind of a nice little thing. I was telling him I know some people down there. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get his opinion on a match, and he can let us know. So, all right. Those are your Disgraced Wrestlers of the Week. We'll have more coming up here at In Ring Art on X, I guess. Although
X,
that's temporary right now. I don't know where. Go on Instagram at In Ring.
Instagram's where I got most of my audience anyway. So
Wrestling and Pod, right?
Yeah, that's where you find us.
Go to Instagram, guys. Go to
Instagram. That's where all the kids are.
My Twitter feed has gotten so many bots in the last month, dude. I've had 25 new bot followers. So
really,
thanks, Elon. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. So okay.
Yeah, there's a few people that I'm on Twitter still for. That
a lot of people
I like to interact with.
A lot of people have left that I was interacting with.
There's very few that like if I can't that I like interacting with on Twitter that I can't on it that don't Instagram, which is weird, but that's the way it is.
Maybe I'll just have to start using Instagram more because
you should.
Yeah, again, Twitter's kind of falling apart. Threads is not quite there yet. Maybe it will be. So we will see. But we'll have a lot more to talk about. Wrestle Dream. We'll have Fastlane. We'll have all sorts of good stuff and some more Disgraced Wrestlers. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, at Wrestling and Pod on Instagram, at In Ring Art on Twitter and Instagram, at John Ensman on Twitter. So you guys have a great night. And Justin, you have a good night too, my brother. And we will see you all later.
Good night, my friend.